Recently, I went up against Kevin Powell in a CSS battle, and it was neck and neck all the way to the end, which made me realize I need to put in some extra practice to make sure I can completely crush Kevin next time we have a competition. So in this video, I'm going to be going through some CSS battles live, solving them and practicing for next time I play Kevin. Welcome back to Web Dev Simplified. My name's Kyle, and my job is to simplify the web for you so you can start building your dream project sooner. And today we're going to be going through battle number 19 on spacing. I'll link it down in the description below. I'm just going to pick some of these different ones to go through. And for this first one, I'm going to pick this very first number in the battle. And that's because I think this one's going to be fairly simple to solve. So I'm going to be putting a clock down here in this section that you can see how quickly I do things. And we'll start the clock as soon as I actually start doing this CSS battle. Before I do start though, I do want to mention I learned a couple things from my last CSS battle, the main one being that I need to remove the margin on the body, and it's going to make it so much easier for me to solve, and I really think that'll help improve my times. So let's get started right now. Obviously, first thing I want to do, go onto that body, and I want to remove the margin, so we'll say margin 0, and I also want to make sure I set the background color properly because last time I did this, I completely forgot. So that right there already has me farther than I was last time. Now, after that, what I want to do is I actually want to start working on styling out these different dots. So what I think I'll do is I'll just give this a class of dot, for example. There we go. So we'll say dot, and it's going to have a width of, or let's just do the background first. So I'm going to copy that value over. So the background is correct. And if I put diff on here, it'll be a lot easier to see where these circles are. And we can say, for example, margin left is like 20 pixels. Yeah, that's actually perfect. So margin top is 20 pixels. And let's do the width at 20 pixels. It's about half the size, so we need 40 pixels. And we need the exact same thing for our height. So there we go. Give it a border radius of 50%. And now we have a perfect circle. So all of our dots are perfectly sized, which is exactly what I want. Now what I can do is I can just put down a couple of those dots. There we go. We have all of our dots showing up in the exact right location. Now we need essentially to do them in a container. So what I think I can do is I can just say dot class equals row. There we go. And we can close this off. And then we can do some row stylings. Dot row display. Whoops. Display is flex. Yep, there we go. That perfectly lined them up. So if I just copy this, paste it down a couple times, and I just remove one of the dots from each of these. Whoops, there we go. Remove that dot and that dot. And this one should only have one dot in it. There we go. That should be exactly perfect. Let's submit. And yep, 100% match. So that one wasn't too bad. And I kind of want to do this as a warm up. And the biggest thing that I noticed from this is, yeah, setting that margin to 0, that just made it so much easier to lay everything out exactly where I wanted it to. So hopefully that'll help me with future CSS battles. So now with that warm-up done, let's move on to the next CSS battle in line 110. And this one, again, I think will be a pretty good warm-up just because it's fairly simple. It's just kind of a repeated pattern going over and over and over again. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, let's get started. So just like I did in the other one, body is going to have a margin of 0. And I'm going to get the background color properly set. There we go. Then what I'm going to do is I just want to give this a class. Let's see, I'll just call it line. So we'll have a line. I'm going to put this again into the diff mode. I just find it a little bit easier to work with the diff mode. I'm going to take this color. So this is our background. So I want this to be centered. So I think I can just do like a display flex, justify content center, align items center. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. Dead centered. Okay, it's not 100% quite centered. It doesn't look like, but that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so the width, we want this to be like 150 pixels maybe, or maybe it is 100 pixels, and we'll say like the height is 10 or something like that. Border radius is just like 100 pixels. That'll give us a rounded corner like that. So now we need to position these in the right location. That's going to be the hard part of how we're going to do this, because this is dead center, but I don't actually want it to be dead centered. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say position absolute. Top is 50%. Maybe it'll be like 75%. No, we'll do like 200 pixels. Let's try that. Ooh, that's really good, actually. Yeah, I think that's perfect. So we'll say top is 200 pixels, left 50%, or we'll say like 100 pixels. Maybe it's 75 pixels, 80 pixels. Okay, that's perfectly lined up. And this one is technically 195, I believe. There we go. Perfectly lined up right where I want it to be. We can probably put this positioning on our line, maybe. There we go. So now I just want to have like a bunch of different lines. So we can say like line 2. This would be line 1. This probably isn't the best way to do it, but I think it'll work. So we can have our base line styles, and then like line 1 is going to have positioning, just like that. So I can copy this for line 2, and line 2 is going to have a transform rotate of, is it like 30 degrees probably? Yeah, that looks correct. So now our top position is different, so like 175 maybe, 160, 150, and our left will be like 70. Okay, 145, 150, left is like 75, 80, 90. Okay, 90 looks really good. So let's change this to 160. All right, that looks like it lines up perfectly. So now we need to do this again, and I should hopefully be able to follow a pattern, I believe. So line 3, the rotate is going to be 60 degrees, and I should just be able to subtract 35 from this. So that would be 25, and then I can subtract or add 10 to this, 100. Nope, it does not follow a perfect pattern. That is unfortunate. So let's see, the top should be a little bit bigger, 35, 40 maybe. And then this should be like 120, 110, 120, okay. This would be 130, 125, 110, 15. Oh man, this is really a pain to style it like this. I feel like there's an easier way to like give it a center point right here, and then just give it some space on the right and left. So let's try to do that instead of doing all this hard-coded number. So I'm gonna move my top and my left up in here. So we'll do top 200 pixels, left 100 pixels. I'm gonna move the position absolute up to there. Comment out all of this. Okay, there's no way to comment, so I'll just delete it for now. There we go, we have our lines. So each line should have a margin right of 20 pixels. See what that looks like. That didn't even move it. Let's do position absolute. They stack on top of each other, and we'll do a right of 20 pixels. That didn't seem to do what I wanted it to do. Right 20 pixels. 10, 0. Because it should be in, oh, yeah, it's inside of our body, so that should be correct. I believe I want the left to be 20 pixels. Left, okay. Oh, the problem is our body doesn't like actually have a size. Oh, duh. Or our body does have a size, obviously. And we're like offsetting it. This should not be on the body, I don't think. Let's do a container. Okay, and let's put everything inside this container. And this may not be like the best way to do this, but at least doing it this way is kind of like more how I would do it in real life. So we have our container, which is going to be positioning itself right there in the dead center. Yeah, so what we can do is we can just say display, flex, justify, content, center, and align items, center. And I want to put that container in the dead center, I believe. So now this can be position relative. And these could be position absolute. Okay, okay. And our container should actually have like a margin top of 50 pixels, or maybe 100 pixels. 95 pixels? 90? Okay, that looks like it lines up. Yeah. So now I just need to give all of these a margin right of like 20 pixels. left 20 pixels. Okay, we'll do margin left 20 pixels. Now that's in the correct location. So now what I should be able to do is just rotate each one. So I can say like dot line 2, transform, rotate 30 degrees. It'd be negative 30 degrees. I'm going around the different way. And I think I want to change the transform origin to be the left. Is there like bottom left? Top left? Center left? That's mostly in the right location. I wonder what our container, if we just say like background red. I get rid of this div. They need to have like space between each other. Oh, that's my problem. I need to like offset them because right now they're all starting in that same exact point. So I need them to be like, this needs to have like a bottom of 10 pixels or something, or like 5. 3, 2. 2 looks correct, but then I need to like change the left. So like left is negative 2 pixels. Or change the right to be 2 pixels. No. Has to be the left. Negative 5. Okay, so if I change the bottom to, let's see, that's mostly in the right location. I really don't like how it's not easy to lay out like exactly how I want it to. But if I just change the left to negative 2, that seemed to work. Let's make sure I set the transform origin left on all the lines. So let's copy line 3 down, and let's see if we can do a similar thing where we just rotate negative 60 degrees and change this to negative 4. Nah, see, that doesn't line up at all. Does the bottom have to be 0? Yeah, now none of this is lining up at all. I kind of want to just completely scratch almost everything. Yeah, I don't like how this is looking at all. Scratch that idea. Because I essentially just want them to do their rotation from this midpoint right here and just kind of span out around it. I can't think of a good way to do that. One thing that really makes these CSS battles so much trickier is you don't have access to the dev tools, which I find really tough. So, okay, we have our body and we've centered. I just hate all this weird centering stuff that's going on. I essentially want to create a div. I want to put an element inside the div where they just start in this dead center point right here and just rotates around, but they're all offset. Like they have a margin, essentially. Okay, I'm going to back this up a little bit. I think I might have actually been closer than I think. So instead of margin left, I'm going to set this to just the straight up left property, maybe. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Get rid of this bottom nonsense, I think. Transform origin should be left. So what does that look like? Okay, they're all starting in the exact same location here. Because what if the left on this one is like 17? No, that doesn't actually make a difference. What? Okay, we put the bottom 0 back in there. That doesn't do anything. Left 20 pixels. Because I want it to start the rotation here. Oh, what? I wonder if I need padding on the left? No, the padding left would extend my border though. Because if we do this, and get rid of this bottom 0 nonsense. Yeah, they line up exactly. It's just that left portion that I don't want to show up there. So I thought margin left would fix that, but it doesn't because it kind of offsets where that transform position is. So I almost need to have like a container inside of a container. Because if I give this a padding left of 20 pixels, yeah, that does, you know, line everything up, but then this center section is obviously wrong. So I wonder if I do like a dot line before. Content, background is going to be this background. I'm just going to copy that. Border radius, 100 pixels, sure. Width and height, yep, copy that over. Okay. This I'll change to just red. I'm gonna actually, I'll just get rid of the color on that. Let's see. Okay, we don't have anything showing up. So the content's there. It should be showing up. Position. absolute, left 20 pixels. There we go. Okay, that's exactly what I want. This is perfect now. So now I can just do the rotates. So let me kind of explain what I did real quick. Make sure I'll just make sure this line works, and then if it does, I will explain it. There we go, it lines up perfectly. So essentially what I did is I noticed that I just wanted to offset everything by 20 pixels from this center point, but I couldn't do it with margins and I couldn't do it with the left position because that changed where my transform origin was. I guess maybe I could have set this to like negative 20 pixels, and that actually, this might actually work. Let me see if this works. I'm just going to comment, or not comment this out. I'll just get rid of this content property, put the background back up into here. And I think I need to remove this padding. So the transform origin, negative 20 pixels. What's off on this? Like the spacing is off. Let's do the comparison. Yeah, the spacing's off. It needs to move over to the left more. So, I need to put that padding left 20 pixels into there. And then our width would be 80 pixels. Is that correct? No, it's off. It's off for some reason. All right, I'm gonna go back to what I had before because I knew this was working. There we go. And put line 4 in there. Cool. So the reason this works is I had that 20 pixels, like I said, on this in between these 2 points where it wasn't actually correctly, lining up. So I added that padding on the left to 20 pixels, but obviously that just extended my line. So what I did is I extended my line, but now I removed the background color from it. Like if I say background red, you can see that my line extends to this center point right there. But what I did is I just put a before element inside of there, and I offset it by that same 20 pixels, so it started in the location that I wanted it to, and it ended where I wanted it to with that padding and offset from the left. So I can come in here and hopefully just do 5, 6, 7. My time's going to be a little off on this from explaining it, but either way, this is a very slow solve on my part. Definitely not ideal. 5, 6, 7. So this is going to be negative 120. This is going to be negative 150. Do I have a line 8 as well? Line 5. Oh, this should be line 5. This should be negative 120, 150, 180. And now hopefully if I submit, that should be 100%. There we go, 100% match. And I know, like I said, my time is a little bit off, but that's perfectly okay. Also, I should probably make this say 180, not 1980. That is still going to work just fine. They both ended up lining up in the right place, but yeah. Okay, so that one was kind of a bit of a mess, but I'm glad we actually got it in the end, and we were able to get it in a way that like all these lines were super, basic, just change the rotation. So next, let's move on to 111. Let's see how this one looks. Okay, so this one is just 3 of the same shape rotated around that same pivot point again. We might even be able to use the exact same trick we used in the previous video. So let's get started. 1, 2, 3, here we go. Very first thing I want to do is change that body margin 0. Oops, margin 0, background, copy over this background color, and then I'm just going to call this like leaf, I think is what I'm going to do. And actually I might div class leaf. What I think I'm going to do is have a container that wraps everything. There we go, just so I can get that middle styling again. So I can say like dot container, and I can say that I want this to be, this is like dead centered, so I could say that I want it to be on the body, a display of flex, justify content center, align items center. There we go. So it's dead center. Get rid of the width, height, background. We don't need any of that on our container. Let's come in here with our leaf. So each one of our leaves are going to have a background that looks like, whoops, this background here. And let's just say like width is 100 pixels and height is 100 pixels. I just want to see what that looks like. We'll do the diff here. So it looks like my width is maybe like 80 pixels. Oops, 80 pixels. Yeah, that looks correct. And let's just move it up a little bit. So we'll say for now, margin bottom is 20 pixels. Or sorry, this would be, we'll set the bottom to 20 pixels. Position absolute. And this one's going to have a position relative. There we go. So it looks like it's maybe like 15 pixels. All right, we'll do 20. I'm trying to think, because I think the way that I want to do this, let's get that diff out of here. I think the way I want to do this is I'm going to have just a circle, and then I'm going to have essentially a rectangle right here. And I think that's how I'm going to do it. So it's like two elements, a circle and a rectangle. So this first element is going to be the circle. So I'm just going to say border radius, whoops, radius 50%. There we go. Now let's put on that diff again. Okay, so I want the width and height to be the same. So we'll say like 80 pixels here. Bottom is 20 pixels. For some reason it's, oh, I need to do a transform, translate, negative 50%. There we go, that'll hopefully help me line this up. And the bottom is maybe 25 pixels, 30 pixels. Okay, that looks perfect, and the height and width are exactly correct. So my circle is done. Now I need the rectangle, and the rectangle I'm just going to have be a before element. So I'm going to say the content is an empty string. Whoops, that deleted a lot more than I wanted when I hit the back button. So content empty string background. I'll just copy that from here. There's our background. Width is like 20 pixels. Height 20 pixels. Position absolute. And let's make the color here red for now, so I can exactly see it a little bit better. There we go, we have our green box. This needs to be more like 50 and 50, I think. Transform, rotate, whoops, 90 degrees, so it's on its side. I'm sorry, not 90, 45 degrees, there we go. It's got that little corner turny going on it. I want the bottom to be 0. There we go. Left, 50%. Okay, also, I need to translate this. Translate X, negative 50%. That's mostly correct. I just think I need to change the size, maybe like 40 and 40. Whoops, 40 and 40. Pixels, there we go. And maybe 50 was right. 50, 50. For some reason, it's not quite in the dead center like I would expect it to be. Position absolute, translate X, negative 50%. Left is 50%. I'll just do it with pixels. We'll say that this is 40 pixels, and we'll do no translate. So this left is actually going to be 20 pixels. 15 pixels, there we go, that's dead exactly where I want it to be. And the bottom is like negative 10 pixels. Whoops, negative 5 pixels. Okay, let's see how that looks. If I change the background color to the right color, it looks pretty good. It's just a little bit off on the sizing. Change it back to red. It's maybe a little bit... what is the problem with it? It's just in the wrong space, I think. It needs to be moved down a little bit, so like negative 6. But then it extends too far out, so like negative 4, not negative 5. We'll see if this is close enough, because it might just be because my browser is actually zoomed in to 125%. It's actually worse when I zoom out. Just zoom it back in here. Because I do the zooming, so it's a little bit easier for you to see. So it looks like it's a little bit too short. It needs to be moved down. So like that's why I thought it needed to be like negative 6 here. Then it pokes out too far. Yeah, on the sides. Interesting. Interesting. Maybe my circle? No, my circle shouldn't have to be bigger. Like these numbers shouldn't be like negative 6. They should be like 5, 10, 15, that kind of stuff. Which is why I'm a little worried here. Whatever, we'll keep it like this and we'll see what happens if we do the other leaves as well. So I'm just going to copy this down. So we'll have like leaf 2. We'll have leaf 1 and 3. So 1, 3. And I think the only thing I need to change is dot leaf 2 is going to have a rotation. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it down here, rotate 90 degrees. There we go. It is rotated, I believe, in the right position. Yeah, I just need to now move it in the right position. So I want the rotate or the transform origin to be bottom, but I need it to be like negative 20 pixels. And let's rotate it negative 90 degrees. Oh, this is weird. Transform origin is like X then Y. So it'd be like center, okay. Rotate it 90 degrees. Trying to figure out where this origin is. So it's like 0 on the left. I want it to be like the bottom center, I think. So we do like 50% and negative 20 pixels. This would be the dead center origin point. This would be top. So this would be bottom. Okay. So let's do like a calculation plus 10 pixels. 20, 30. So I think it's about 30 pixels, and I want this to rotate negative 90 degrees. Is that in the right location? Mostly. It looks like it doesn't start soon enough. So let's try 25. No. 30 is in the right location. She needs to move inward a little bit, I think. Is that? Yeah, because it's just too far out. Interesting. I wonder if I can say that my leaf has a bottom of like 20 pixels instead. Oh, no, that gets everything all messed up. A right of 20 pixels. A left. 10. Negative 10. Okay, that technically lines it up in the right location. I don't like how hacky that is, but we'll go with it for now. Leaf 3 needs to rotate 180 degrees. And let's get rid of that left. Okay, that's lined up perfectly. So I'm just going to submit this to see what percentage we're sitting at. I think it's going to be close, but it's not going to be perfect. It's taking a very long time to submit for some reason. Because like it looks good, but we just have those like little corners poking off. I don't like that. Okay, it technically says it's 100% match. I think it might just be like the difference between different browser zoom levels or something like that. Because yeah, when I'm at like, oh, no, I guess it's still off. But it says it's 100% matched. So I'm going to take it and we are going to move on. Okay, let's do one last one. We're actually going to go back. We're going to select one we want because these three have all been pretty similar, like doing different spacing stuff. Let's do, this one actually looks kind of interesting because there's a few different ways to do it, but let's do this one. I like this one. This headphone one's kind of cool. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, let's get started. Body, margin, 0, background. And we're going to do this dark color right here. There we go. Okay. And now what we need to do is we essentially need to create a circle that's going to be this top section here. It's going to be essentially a square that has this rounded top, I believe. And then we're going to need some more square related stuff. Okay, it's going to be kind of complicated. Let's do the top section first, maybe. Yeah. So class, container. I don't know if I actually use that class or not, but I guess it's good to have. Class equals band div. So this band right here is going to be that top section dot band. Height is 100 pixels, width 100 pixels, border radius is like 1,000 pixels. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this border be rounded like this, and then it's going to continue downward with this long section here. So technically our height is like 120 pixels. And I want to do a border, so we'll say border is going to be this color. So it's, we'll do like 20 pixels solid that. Okay. As you can see, that already looks pretty good. It needs to be wider, so we'll say like 150 pixels and 100 and we'll just make this 200 pixels. And now I need to position this in the dead center. So we'll say, I hate using Flexbox to center things because it always comes out wrong when I do it. So we're just going to put the position absolute on here. And we'll say left is 100 pixels, top 50 pixels. Diff that. Okay, it's in about the right location. Our size is a little off. This is like 15 pixels. And our left is like 105, 110. Actually, maybe our size is 25 pixels. No, that looks too big. So maybe 20 was right, and I just had my positions wrong. Yeah, that looks correct. It just needs to be upwards a little bit more. So like 45 is the top. And then it's too wide. Okay, there's my problem. It's too wide. So this should be like 140. There we go. That's lined up perfectly. Now what I need to do, let me think. It looks like the border is correct up here, but as it goes around, the border it's like thinning out. That can't really be. Maybe. But let's shrink down our height a little bit because our height is way too big. So we'll do like 150. Maybe 160. And I want our border bottom none. Okay, oh, we need to get rid of our background. Do we have a background? No, we don't have a background on here. So border bottom none. Border left none. See, that just doesn't, that's clearly not right. Oh, but maybe now that we did that, the thing will thin out more. No, it needs to stay thicker. So let's get rid of that border bottom stuff. So our line, is it thinner or thicker? I can't quite tell. So black is the correct. Ours looks like it's thicker. And if we change it to have that border bottom none, the black section is our line. It's just not thick enough at those sections. Yeah, it's not thick enough. So what if we change the border to 25 pixels? Then it's probably too thick at the top. 22, 21, 20. I'm trying to see what is wrong here because this is really confusing me. It looks like correct. Oh, it's just too wide. Oh, duh, it's too wide. Okay, change this to 130. 120. 135. Oh, that lined up perfectly. So 135, but our left position is wrong. So let's get the left position first. Does it need to go that way? Yeah, 115, and this will be 130. Okay, now that lined it up perfectly. Now let's change our border bottom to none. That actually is not what we want. We need to get rid of that. We need to cut this shape off because you can see we get the bottom section of the shape showing up. We don't want that to show up. We want it to cut off at a certain point, I believe. So let's just say that this band is now going to be the before element. We're going to have our band. This is one way of doing this without having to add extra HTML elements to our page, which I prefer to do when I'm writing actual HTML. I prefer to have the least amount of HTML possible. So we want to have our left top, height, width, that is all good. Border radius, border, all that stuff. This content is going to go in my before. Oh no, yeah, here, okay. So yeah, this will go inside the before. And we need to make sure our content is that. And we're going to get rid of all of the rest of the content, the left, the top, all of that. Okay, and this will not actually have a border. It's just going to have a size. And then what I can do is I can change my height here to like 100. We'll just say like 75. And then what I can do is I can change my overflow to hidden. There we go, and that'll cut it off. So if I change my height to like 100 pixels, that's not quite low enough, so we'll do like 120. There we go, that's exactly where I want it to be. And then I need it to be a little bit wider, it looks like. It's like 150, 60, 70. Okay, there we go. So now it's just showing that top part, and as you can see, perfect exact match. So technically for like this type of thing for CSS Battle, this is not ideal because it's writing more code, but I like it for actual real world CSS, which is how I kind of treat these. So we have our band. Let's do another class. This is going to be for the headphone. There we go. And this will be the left side. Left. So dot headphone. We can do a lot of the same things. I want to kind of copy all that code into here. Background is going to be this color, just so we can see what we're working with. Okay, but our top position is obviously going to be quite a bit different. Our top needs to be like 100 pixels or 200 pixels. 150. Nope, 170. 65. There we go, 165 is exactly where we want it to be. And now our width obviously needs to be a lot smaller, so we'll do like 50 pixels. Nope, 70. Let's just do diff mode, it's a little bit easier. 60, okay, 60 pixels. That's good. And now we need to do the border radius. So we can say like border radius, or border top right radius is 10 pixels. 20, there we go. And we can do our border bottom right radius 50%. And our bottom left radius, and instead of being 50%, should be like 100 pixels. Okay, and then we just need to change our height to reduce it. So like 60, 50, whoops, 70, 80. Okay. Let's see. Oh, our corner, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. There we go. Now that's dead lined up exactly where we want. All we need to do is make it so that now we have the same styles on our right side headphone. So this would be like headphone dot right, and then we need to have a headphone dot left, and the left side is only going to have this left property defined, and it's going to have these borders defined. So get rid of that from there, get rid of this. So now the headphone on the right needs to have a left which is much larger. Essentially just needs to have all this content defined. So the left on this one, we'll say like 300, 215. Obviously it helps if I add this to the page so we can see it, okay? So 315, 265, there we go, that's the right location. Oh no, it's not. 205, 200, 210, 220, 225. That's the right location. So now this should be top left. There we go. That should be a dead center perfect. Submit that. And there we go. That is a 100% match, which is exactly what I was looking for. And this is way cleaner. And I think this turned out probably the best out of all of the ones that we tackled. I definitely feel that this training helped. I struggled with some of the earlier CSS battles in this video, but that final one of the headphones, I absolutely crushed. Now, next time Kevin challenges me, he's going down. And if you want to see some of my older CSS battle challenges, they're going to be linked right over here. With that said, thank you very much for watching and have a good day.